Good evening, this is Tanya Osmond, and with me tonight is Joanne Mack, and together we represent Mack Osmond Educational Consultants Incorporated. And we are here to present the Institutional Analysis and Transformation Design Project for Baltimore City Community College. The agenda for tonight's meeting will focus on the principles of Learning College, the history of Baltimore City Community College, the strategic planning and operational process that will be proposed, the timeline for making change, budgetary and staffing implications, and student-centered learning transition concerns. As learners increase their utilization of the community college as a cost-effective way to obtain short-term occupational training or an associate degree in preparation for transfer, it will be important for community colleges to reassess their learning pedagogy, teaching strategies, and student support services in assisting students with achieving academic success required for their career goals. A paradigm shift has taken place in U.S. higher education, from the instruction paradigm to that of the learning paradigm. Colleges are no longer viewed as institutions that exist to provide instruction, but they are instead viewed as institutions that exist to produce learning. The resulting learning paradigm for educational institutions shifts the responsibility from quality instruction to student learning. Researchers have supported the shift to student-centered learning as the brain has been documented as actively constructing its own knowledge, and real teaching is accomplished when teachers give students the opportunity to become active learners. Policymakers have also demanded the transparent evidence of college learning, and accrediting associations have raised expectations for institutions to gather evidence of student learning outcomes. For all these reasons, Mack Osmond Educational Consultants recommends that Baltimore City Community College transition from an instruction-based institution to a learning-centered community college. To clarify what is meant by student-centered learning, it is an instructional approach in which students influence the content, activities, materials, and pace of learning. In broad terms, Learning College references all educational institutions, and it places learning first by providing educational experiences that are designed for the convenience of learners. Based upon O'Banion's 6 key principles, the Learning College creates substantive change, engages learners as full partners, creates options for learning, assists learners to form collaborative learning, defines the roles of learning facilitators by the needs of the learners, and succeeds only with improved and expanded learning that can be documented for its learners. Baltimore City Community College was founded in 1947 as Baltimore Junior College, a part of the Baltimore City Public Schools. In the 1980s, shrinking resources made it difficult for the city to continue operating a quality institution of higher education. In 1990, the Maryland General Assembly created a new institution, New Community College of Baltimore, funded by the state of Maryland. The college was granted permanent state status in 1992 and renamed Baltimore City Community College. Baltimore City is the only community college in the city and the only state-sponsored community college in Maryland. Baltimore City has a large portion of its students that require additional academic support. A white paper from the Vice President of Institutional Research highlighted the number of students taking developmental courses, the number of students not returning to school after the first semester, and the completion rates. This information led Baltimore City to be placed on probation by the Middle States Commission on Higher Education due to concerns that were raised over the assessment of student learning. Since then, Baltimore City has made changes to become compliant with the Commission standards on the assessment of student learning, in addition to streamlining academic programs, redesigning the developmental education program, and implementing mandatory academic advising and orientation. These improvements enabled Baltimore City to be removed from probation in 2012. Based on these issues, Baltimore City's commitment to transition from teaching-centered to learning-centered has been a gradual process. At the time that Mac Osmond began to work with Baltimore City, 2 programs were available for review: the Promise Academy and Prescriptive Tutoring. When Mac Osmond evaluated Baltimore City against the principles of the Learning-Centered College, it was clear that Baltimore City has made progress in some areas, but there was still a lot of areas for additional progress. In both examples from Baltimore City, the perception of the student has not changed much over the last 66 years. This institution still envisions the student as a passive learner. To address the systems thinking and mental models associated with passive student learning, Baltimore City has re-examined its strategic planning process with a learning-centered approach in mind. With guidance from Mac Osmond, a new process has been designed that will produce a new strategic plan for the years 2015 to 2020. Baltimore City has also identified an award-winning institution to benchmark and model after, Valencia Community College. By consulting with an institution that has already implemented a learning-centered strategic plan, Baltimore City hopes to gain insights regarding the process that can be applied to its student population and campus community. When Mac Osmond consulted with VCC, administrators recommended that Baltimore City utilize Roger Kaufman's organizational elements model in its planning efforts. The OEM is a conceptual as well as mental model that enables an organization to view itself as a 3-level system: societal, organizational, and operational. This model provides a theoretical and practical framework for strategic planning and will meet the requirements of Baltimore City's internal and external clients. In Baltimore City's new strategic planning process, learning provides a focus for strategic planning. The planning process assists the college in learning more about society needs, and the focus on learning is a way to integrate various plans of the campus community with the new strategic plan. As suggested by Valencia Community College, the College Planning Council will work closely with the senior leadership team in designing and conducting the planning process. The College Planning Council will also direct task forces with designing and carrying out phases of the process. The Planning Steering Committee will consist of the president, council co-chairs, a board trustee, and representatives of career service and professional staff, and it will make final recommendations about the plan's strategy and content. By including a member of the Board of Trustees, the board will have input in the transformation process. Mac Osmond recommends that Baltimore City's strategic planning timeline begin during the fall of 2013. First, various task forces are appointed, needed data is defined, and internal and external data is collected and analyzed. Ongoing communications to all stakeholders starts at the beginning of the timeline and continues until implementation, and ongoing evaluations of the processes and products occur at each stage throughout the planning process. By fall of 2014, the vision, values, and mission statements will be finalized, and by spring 2015, the goals and objectives will be finalized, which completes the strategic plan. The strategic plan is then submitted to the Board of Trustees for approval, and the implementation of the new strategic plan is scheduled to begin in fall of 2015. As a result of Baltimore City being placed on probation by MHEC, enrollment began to decline. This decline in enrollment has led to a decrease in revenue for the college. At the time of this paper, Baltimore City is in a steady state with regards to staffing. There are no new hires for this academic year, except in the case of extreme emergency. The governor's budget analyst has informed the acting president that the budget for the college will remain the same for the next academic year, except all capital projects will be pushed out another 5 years. Therefore, Baltimore City will need to maintain expenses and resources at current levels during the strategic plan design and implementation process. When interviewed by Mac Osmond Educational Consultants, faculty expressed concern about how to move from instructor-centered to student-centered learning. Several factors needed to be kept in mind to make this transition easier during the implementation of the Learning-Centered College. First, instructors may move from instructor-centered to student-centered learning in stages. Smaller, more reflective transitions to student-centered learning approaches produce the most sustainable changes in teaching. Second, it is possible for instructors to cover the content in the syllabus using student-centered learning approaches. While some student-centered lessons may not cover everything that traditional lectures would, research has suggested that students are actually learning more. Finally, because students do learn differently, instructors need to be prepared for some students to resist the new behaviors that they will be asking them to perform. As educational consultants at Mac Osmond, we strongly recommend that Baltimore City consider the aforementioned suggestions by using a learning-centered approach in restructuring its strategic planning process. Benchmarking with and learning from an award-winning institution such as Valencia Community College will enable Baltimore City to set, achieve, and maintain high standards in student outcomes assessment. By using learning as a focus for strategic planning, the planning process will assist the college in learning more about society needs, and the emphasis on learning will assist in the integration of various plans of the campus community with the new strategic plan. Baltimore City's most recent initiatives, the Promise Academy and prescriptive tutoring programs, are good attempts to put learning first and the student at the center of this environment. Therefore, Mac Osmond recommends that Baltimore City revisit these programs and consider additional programs that place learning first. Included are the references for our presentation, and we appreciate your attention. Have a good evening.